Yeah.
8:30.
I'm working out. Hey, that was shop.
I'm going to start with the sponsors, and then we'll go into today's Gemara. Okay. Year of learning by Suanarni Gerlich in memory of Malka Pro Man and Philip Man and Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch. Beryl ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Yosef Meir ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Henya Rivka Pro Rosner, Bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, and in memory of family murdered in the Holocaust. Arav Tzvi Hirsch ben Shlomo Yaakov, Sarah Bat Ephraim, Yisrael David ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Ephraim ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Adia Bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Miriam Bat Harav Tzvi Hirsch, Pesel ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shalom ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shlomo Yaakov ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch, Shmuel ben Arav Tzvi Hirsch. Leslie and Gail Kaplan in memory of their parents, Harry and Marjorie Sedell, Irving and Pro Kaplan. Children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren of Toby Paris, Saratova, but Yisrael Dove in her memory. Charlie Gelfenstein and Sam Levine in memory of Ramona Levine, Rachel Mata bat Asher. Friends of Nina Moynester, Nechama Asna bat Yitzchak Aharon. Many friends of Stephen Vigdor, Zecher Nishmat Simcha Melech and Meir Leib Halevi. Friends of Marcy Kurtz in memory of her great niece, Leah Bracha. The month of learning by Lydia and Abe Krause's many friends in honor of their 50th anniversary. Josh and Carol Sanborn in memory of his parents, Chiana Bar Aryeh Leib and Shmuel Aryeh Ben Borach. Jill and Perry Meltzer in memory of her father, Yaakov Ben Yosef. A week of learning by Leonie Meiselman in memory of her husband, Nisan Yitzchak Ben Shlomo Zalman. Her family of Esther Shepatovsky in memory of Esther Reva Bat Batzalel. Sid Paris in memory of his father, Chaim Ben Aaron Cohen. Okay, days of learning plus Torah. Well, today is the 11th, right? So we have a day of learning by B. Worden in memory of her mother, Sprinza Bat Baruch, by Helena and Nathan Gross in memory of her mother, her father, Gershon Ben Meir. And also I'd like, again, our learning should be also for a Refuah Shlema for our friends, Moshe Yosef Ben Rechel HaKohen and Mordechai Ozer Ben Fega and Miriam Chana Bas Shoshana Leva. Okay. All right. Also, let me just add for Shabbos, since it's not usually done on Shabbos, a day of learning to Esther Mail from your Mahjong friends in memory of your husband, Nisan Ben Yaakov Tzvi, by the Adler, Newfield, and Ackerman families, in memory of Hannah and Ron Goldberg's daughter, Tammy Goldberg, Tamar Yenta Bat Yerachmiel Yitzchak. Also Shabbos, Florence and Jay Levy, in memory of her mother, Blima Bat Peretz. May the Shamas have an Aliyah, Crank Rafia, Velti Yeshira Shama Talia, and Lachol B'nai Israel, a good Gabenshtia. Amen. Okay. I'll get us back together in a second. So if I want to say, as was asked, Sid asked a very appropriate question to me last night. And I just want to use that to get us back into the Gemara this morning. Let's assume we have, I'll give the example, and Sid, correct me if I phrase it inappropriately. Okay. The oldest son, the oldest brother of the family has multiple wives. We've been talking generally as two, but he could have, for whatever reason, more than two. All right? Poor guy. Only if he can afford it, right? Okay? So what happens? Okay? And so therefore, to whom does she have a zikah? Okay? So I suggested to Sid that she has, that those two now, those multiple widows now have a zikah. Okay, if the oldest brother was the one who passed away, to the next oldest brother. Okay, in other words, she has a zikah really to the entire family, we said, but it's the next oldest brother that has the, I'll put achrayus, the responsibility of being the Yabama. Okay. Now, what happens then if among those multiple wives, he figures, hey, you know what? I'll do Yibum with number 3, because she's really the best looking of the 4 wives or the 5 wives. Okay. And so I suggested to Sid that that's why we see the fact that Abba Shaul in yesterday's Gemara made the emphasis that it's supposed to be l'shem mitzvah yibum, and not for other ulterior reasons. And that was how he argued why our Mishnah had chalitza first and not yibum in the text. Okay, so Sid accepted my answer.
Rabbi, once you form chalitza for one of them, then all of
Exactly,
them.
Bob. Exactly. Once he performs chalitza for any one, or let's say the reverse. Let's say he decided yibum. Okay, but let's go with chalitza. It is poter. We said all the other widows. Okay, because they are tsarot. They are all co-wives. Okay. Okay. So, and therefore we see again the statement that the Gemara that where Yibum applies, Chalitza applies, or the opposite, where Chalitza applies, Yibum applies. Okay. So if that's the case, okay, I have to ask again, okay, what are we looking at? We were looking at, right, on the bottom of Gimel Amud Beis, right? I want to pick up there really, right? So the Gemara raises there, Hava amina achoti shami abemet mai tama, da'amrinan ate aseh v'dache lo ta'aseh. The Gemara is suggesting you have the aseh of mitzvat yibum, regardless of whether we say it's one mitzvah and yibum and chalitza, the flip sides, or whether we say they are two separate, each is a mitzvah, okay? But you have a positive aseh there, and maybe that's going to overrule the love of erva, okay? So that's what we seem to be suggesting at this point in the bottom of the Amud. Okay? So this is on, as I say, it's Gimel Amud Beis, about 2 or 3 lines up. Okay? Emar, I might therefore say, Da'amrinan ate aseh, v'dache lo ta'aseh. And therefore I might say, when I say, however, aseh is doche lo ta'aseh, the Gemara now comes back and says, hold on a second. Lo ta'aseh greda. We're only talking about what I'm going to call it ordinary love.
What does that mean, ordinary?
The Gemara is going to give us an example in just a minute. Okay, good question, Bob. All right. But what's with all these lavim that are from Arias? Lo ta'aseh sheyesh bo karet midache. Okay, can we really say that an aseh is going to knock out a lo ta'aseh where the punishment is karet? Fine, you might say the normal love, the punishment is malchus. And maybe there I'm willing to say that an aseh knocks out the lo ta'aseh. Okay? But after all, a love like arayos, where the punishment we've seen for zadon is karet, that doesn't seem to be appropriate. Okay? And so what happens? Lo ta'aseh, right? So that was the Gemara's question. V'tu, and furthermore, lo ta'aseh greda minalan dedach. And even if you want to argue that aseh can knock out a regular, ordinary lo ta'aseh, how do we know that? What's the basis? That's your question, Bob, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now we go over to Dalet Amud Aleph, top of the Amud, which is today's daf, right? So the Gemara continues and says to us, Dichtiv, why? Because we have a specific example that we can give. Namely, we have a lav that says lo tilbash shatnez. Okay, you can't wear this particular item. Gedilim ta'aselach. And now we have another pasuk that has an asay that says gedilim, you should have gedilim. Whatever we want to translate gedilim, fringes, whatever other ways. Okay, right? All right. So we have a lav, and then we have an asay. Va'amar Rabbi Elazar, he says, in this case, smuchin, psukim that juxtapose one another, okay? Min haTorah, minayin. How do we know that in this example, okay, one overrules the other? Shnei amar, as it says, smuchin la'ad la'olam asuyim be'emet v'yashar. Okay, that this idea of the juxtaposition of psukim is a way that we darshan and can come to halacha, okay, and that the juxtaposition always gives us this message. Okay, going on. V'amar Rav Sheshet, Amar Rabbi Elazar, Mishum Rabbi Elazar ben Azariah. Okay, so we have a Masorah here. Minayin liyabama shenafla lefnei moka shchin she'ein chosmin ota. Okay. Now, this comes back to an example that we had a little issue with yesterday. Okay, the issue when it was raised, the point as to the husband's, the Yavam's prerogative to choose one of the wives and fulfill Yibum or Chalitza. Does she have any role? Could she refuse? Could she say no? Okay, and we had a little question about that. And my response was, I have to think about it and see what the Gemara says. So here we have a Masorah that says, under what circumstances is it that when the widow, okay, falls into the status of having to have either Yibum or Chalitza, and it occurs that the Yabam is a Mochesh Chin, okay, he is has some sort of repulsive, he's got some sort of physical ailment, okay, that as a result makes him right? She'ein chosmin ota, that we do not muzzle or silence her, okay? And the Gemara is going to tell us in a moment, if that is reasons for grounds for divorce, could we not say then that it is also grounds for her to complain and refuse yibum, and therefore have to have chalitza.
He's saying it.
Exactly, exactly. That's my, okay?
Compare the woman to the ox.
No, not yet. Okay? All right? So why? So in other words, so this would seem to tell us that the potential Yevama does have some say in regards to what happens, whether there is Yibum or Chalitza. Okay? Shenamar, why? Because we have another example. Lo tachsom shor b'disho. We have a pasuk that says you do not muzzle a ox when it is pulling, it's going through the field. Labriut. Okay? V'samich le, and now we have another pasuk that's fairly close to it. Ki yeshvu achim yachdav, when brothers are living in proximity together. Okay, and that is the beginning, exactly, Ruvain, of the whole section that we read in Devarim dealing with the Yavama. Okay, right? So what happens? So it would seem that there might be smuchim here between not muzzling and the whole issue of yibum. That's what he suggested, right? Va'amar Rav Yosef, and says Rav Yosef, afilu leman delo darish smuchin ba'alma, even according to one who doesn't ordinarily expound juxtaposed verses in general, b'mishnah Torah regarding Sefer Devarim, and therefore our example here, okay, of Yibum and all right, Lo Tachsom, okay, that would appear that they would use juxtaposition here and accept this view. Daha Rabbi Yehuda, as here in the case of Rabbi Yehuda, Ba'alma, who in general, Lo Darish, generally doesn't expound Smuchim, Uba Mishnah Torah Darish, but he would be willing to do that regarding Sefer Devarim and our example of Yibum and Lo Tachsom. Okay, so the Gemara asks, Uba Alma Minalan de Lo Darish, and in general, do we say that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't expound like this? The Tanya, because it's taught elsewhere. Ben Azai Omer, Ne'emar b'machshefa lo tichya. Elsewhere, it's written a sorceress or a witch shouldn't live, right? V'ne'emar, and it's also said, Kol shochev im behema mot yumat. One who has relations with an animal is put to death. Samchu inyan lo, ma shochev im behema beskila, af machshefa beskila. So it would seem that we would juxtapose one item to the other, namely the same way that the one who has relations with an animal is punished by skila. So it would seem that the witch should be punished by skila. However, says the Braita, Amarle Rabbi Yehuda responds then to Ben Azai, V'chi mipnei shesamchu inyan lo notzi zeh l'skila. Are we saying simply because of smichut parshiot, darshaning, you're going to take this woman out, okay, or deal with this situation, because otherwise it should have said notzi zot, okay? But we'll take this example, this situation, right, and punish her by skila, by stoning. So here this shows Rabbi Yehuda doesn't normally darshan smuchim, ela, but rather Rabbi Yehuda is telling Ben Azai, we have a pasuk that says, O v'yidoni bichlal mechashvim hayu, that the Ov and Yuduni were included in the general category of sorcerers or sorceresses, right? V'lama yatsu, and why were they excluded? Okay, lahakish lahem v'lomar lach, to make a hakesh, an association, and to tell you, ma ov v'yidoni b'skila af machshefa b'skila. That's the case, right? So the Gemara goes on. So we said, how do we know? Fine, you just showed me that Rabbi Yehuda doesn't normally expound smuchim. But on the other hand, you said he does expound it in regards to Sefer Dvarim, right? Uba Mishnah Torah minalan didarish. We ask about Rabbi Yehuda there. That's none. Why? Because it says, no se adam anusat aviv umefutat aviv. A person may marry the woman who was raped by his father or who was seduced by his father. Anusat beno umefutat beno, raped by the son or seduced by the son. Rabbi Yehuda oser ba'anusat aviv umefutat aviv. Rabbi Yehuda forbids the marriage of the well, in this case, of the son to the rape, the one woman raped by the father or seduced by the father. Va'amar Rav Gidl, Amar Rav, in the name of Rav Gidl, Amar Rav, my tama de Rabbi Yehuda. What's the reasoning of Rabbi Yehuda there? Dichtiv, because it says, Lo yikach ish et eshet aviv, v'lo yigale knaf aviv, that a person should not take not only the wife of his father, but he should not reveal the corner of the garment or the skirt, of his father. All right. And what did he do? What did he darshan? Kanaf shera'a aviv, the quote skirt that his father saw, lo yigale, okay, that should not be revealed. In other words, here in this case, Rabbi Yehuda is darshaning the phrase kanaf to imply, okay, even since the father raped or seduced the woman, okay, she was seen, okay, or her quote skirt, she was seen, and therefore the result is that's why Rabbi Yehuda forbids that situation, right? Can we help you? Okay, this is Daf Yomi. Okay, anybody help the gentleman? Okay. And how do we know that this is written in regards to somebody who is a rape situation? Okay. All right. So the Gemara then tells us, Me'ilave dekra, from the juxtaposition or the previous verse, okay? Dichtiv v'natan ha'ish hashochevi ma la'avi hana'ara chamishim kasef, right? Given that statement, right? V'samich le, and then connected with it is the following, lo yikach ish v'gomer. Okay, so that's the view of Rabbi Yehuda. V'Rabbanan, but what about the rabbis? What's their view? Ihava samichle, if it was really one verse right next to the other, juxtaposed, says the Gemara, hava samichle kidika amart, then it would be like you said, and that's a valid proof that yes, Rabbi Yehuda does darshan smichut in Mishnah in Mishnah Torah Sefer Devarim.
Or everywhere.
Elsewhere. Okay. All right. Hashta delo samichle. But here, where we say there really is not a direct juxtaposition. Okay. Why? Dichtiv lo yikach ish et eshet aviv bein tayim. Because there's something other written between them. All right. B'shomeret yabam hakatuv medaber. So here we must be talking about a situation where it's dealing with the status of the yabam, namely, v'la'avor alav b'shnei lavim. Why? Because there it's more focusing on the status of the yabam, where were he to marry or relations with the woman that was raped or seduced by his father. Why is Rabbi Yehuda darshaning this? Because the Gemara is saying, in this unique case, that man would be over on two different lavim. Okay? One relations with an aunt, and one relations with a woman that was said was raped or seduced by the father. Okay? Uba Mishnah Torah, Ma'itama de Darish. So if that's the case, what makes it that Rabbi Yehuda will darshan smuchim in regards to Sefer Devarim? Ibayat ema, I might say, mishum de mochach. Why? Because it's evident. It's written there on purpose. Veibayat ema, or I might say, mishum de mufne, because maybe it's available. The word is extraneous and free for available for darshan. Ibayat ema, or again I might say, mishum de muchach, if I say that argument that it's evident, it's written for the purpose. De im kain, if that's the case, the katvei rachmana gabe arayos, says the Gemara, then it should have been written among the other examples of arayos, but it's not there. V'ibayat ema mishum demufne, and if you're going to say it's because the phrase he's darshans it because it just happens to be available, extraneous, and free. All right. The imkain, if that's the case, l'chtov rachmana lo yikach ish et eshet aviv. Then the fact that it says already a pasuk that says one should not take the wife of his father. Lo yigaleh kanaf aviv. The other pasuk that says he shouldn't reveal the skirt or the robe with regards to his father. Lamali, why do I need that pasuk then? Okay, so we go on shmamina as we go over to Amud Beis, right? La'afnuye, it would therefore seem that we would have to follow the argument that he darshaned it because he saw that it was extraneous, available. So wait a second, says the Gemara. Let's try, see, does this apply in other situations? V'gabe tzitzit nami. And regarding tzitzit, we might say the following is similar. Ibayat ema mishum demuchach. I might say that it's because it's self-evident. V'ibayat ema mishum demufna. And I might say it's because it is extra, available. Here's our example. Ibayat ema mishum demuchach. If I'm going to say that it's because it's evident, the imkain lekadve rachmana gabe parshat tzitzit. If that's the case, why didn't the Torah write it in regards to the section of tzitzit, vayalachem tzitzit, etc., etc., etc.? Lamai hilchata kativa hacha. So then, what is the law that was written here? V'ibayat ema mishum demufna. And if I'm going to say it's because of the example that it's available and it's free, right? Michdi katav, since it's written, ubeged kla'ayim shatnez lo ya'aleh. since we have, right, a pasuk
Right.
that tells me, okay, a garment of mixed substances, which is shatnez, one should not put it on, okay? And I'm translating it specifically, put it on for a reason, okay? Lo ya'ale alei, lo tilbash shatnez. And therefore also says you should not wear shatnez. Lamali, why do I need this other pasuk that says lo tilbash shatnez if I've already got a pasuk that says beged klayim shatnez lo ya'alele? Right? Lamali, shmamina lafnuye. So I have to learn that it had to come because it was available, it was free. Hani, so the Gemara says, wait a second. These verses, okay, mitzar chatzriche. We're saying, no, they weren't just leftover verses.
I need the concept
I
of
need-
lecha and the
Right.
concept of dressing. the
Okay.
silbash,
We're going to
wearing.
get right. In other words, we're going to say these psukim are necessary.
Right.
In other words, I need both the pasuk of beged klayim shatnez lo ya'ale alecha for one aspect, and I need the pasuk of lo tilbash shatnez also for another aspect. Okay, namely, okay, the ikatav rachmana, had the Torah only written lo ya'ale alecha, you should not, so to speak,
Put it on.
put it on, right? Hava amina, I would have thought to say, kol derech ha'ala'ah asar rachmana. Any means by which you might have it on you would be forbidden.
A blanket.
Well, whatever, we're going to see a different example.
There's another interpretation also that it could be that they don't want you to be a person who manufactures.
Well, let's see what it is, okay? Namely, therefore, va'afilu mochrei ksot, says the Gemara, even those who simply display them by carrying them on their shoulders. Okay?
The salesman wears the jacket to show
Well,
somebody.
Right, but here they clearly,
Right.
elsewhere, the Gemara has told us that they would sort of, the same way if you bring stuff home from the cleaners, okay? Sometimes you may have your finger holding the hanger and you carry it over your back.
That's lo ya'ale.
That's lo ya'aleh, exactly. That's sort of carrying it on you. That's what it's, because you're not wearing it, but you are carrying it on you in that example. Okay? So therefore, avafilu mochrei ksot, even those who sell garments, okay, they don't wear them, but they might carry it on their shoulders, so to speak. Katav Rachmana, therefore the Torah does spell it out and says, lo tilbash shatnez, that you cannot wear shatnez, right? Dumia de levisha de it behana'a. So what we're saying is that it's similar then to wearing because one does derive benefit from it. Ve'i katav rachmana lo tilbash, and were the Torah only to have written you shouldn't wear it, hava amina dafka levisha de nafish haniyata. I would say there we're specifically referring to wearing where there is greater benefit, right? Aval ha'ala'ah, but simply carrying it or having it on you for some reason, lo, katav rachmana, lo ya'ale alecha. And therefore that's why the Torah says you should not have it on you. Imkain, says the Gemara, lichtov rachmana, let the Torah write, lo tilbash shatnez, semer upishtin. Let the Torah simply say, don't wear shatnez, and define it with...
No, the end of the pasuk says semer pushtin.
Right.
So why do you need, all the Torah has to say is lo silba shatnez, you don't need the rest of the pasuk.
Okay, all right, I see what you're, okay.
That's
So let
just-
the
that-
Torah write lo tilbash
And
shatnez.
no more.
And when it says
Love of
semer upishtim lamali, why do I need them that part?
The additional
Okay.
words.
Right? Michdei ktav ubeged klayim shatnez lo ya'ale alech. Since it's written a beged of mixed substances, which shatnez you shouldn't have on you. But okay, that's why we read. How would we know what shatnez is if it didn't say tzemer pishtim?
Because they explain why. But
So now we're
no.
going to see another drush. Vitana debe Rabbi Ishmael, and it was taught in the Academy of Rabbi Ishmael. Ho'il v'ne'emru b'Torah stam bigadim. Since it's written in the Torah, in general, the words clothing, okay, right, in that pasuk, right?
And the Torah doesn't tell us when it
right.
says the word beged,
We're
what
gonna
it's
get
made
right.
of.
Uparat lecha hakatuv be'echad mehen semer upishtim, and afterwards the Torah details
In
that
one
it
place.
is an example, namely wool and linen. Afkol semer upishtim. Then therefore we're saying all other examples where there is wool and linen. Semer upishtim de katav rachmana lamali. So therefore we say, why then did the Torah spell out these examples of wool and linen? Right? Shma mina lafnuye. It would seem then that the reason is because it's available. Va'akati, it's tarich. But still I say it is necessary. It's required. Salka da'atach amina, because if possible I might say as follows. He'ala'ahi, that's simply, so to speak, putting it on. Delo nafish hana'ata, where there is no particular greater benefit. Avalavisha, but with wearing it, the nafish haniata, okay, where there is significant benefit. Kol tre mine asar rachmana, any two types of fibers might therefore be prohibited. Therefore, katav rachmana semer upishtim. That's why the Torah then has written wool and linen. The Gemara,
By the verse of Losala.
right?
So you
So it
not
makes a
only by-
distinction.
Right.
Okay, imkain, if that's the case, lishto kramine. Let the verse simply be silent, right? Vitite, and teach shatnez, the word shatnez, shatnez mehala'ah, okay? Namely shatnez in regarding to simply putting it on. Vatana debe Rabbi Ishmael, and the Academy of Rabbi Ishmael, Tama de Katav Rachmana Semer Upishtim, that the reason the pasuk specifically spells out those examples of linen, of wool and linen, lav hachi, that's not the case. Namely, kla'ayim b'tzitzit, hava amina de asar rachmana, that it is mixed items regarding tzitzit. That is what the Torah is forbidding. V'hakativ, but isn't it written elsewhere? Va'asulehem tzitzit al kanfei bigdehem, that you should make these tzitzit on the corners of your garments. Vitana, and it's taught by Rabbi Ishmael in the Academy of Rabbi Ishmael, kol bigadim semer upishtinhem. All garments, okay, are normally wool or linen. Va'amar rachmana, and the Torah tells us, avid le tchelet, but also it tells us to make this tchelet, okay, this item, okay, of this blue nature. And what does it have to be made from? Wool, right? With the tchelet amrahu, and we make this blue item on the tzitzit from amra, from wool. Umimai de Techelet Amrahu. And how do we know that this blue item must be made from wool? Midashash, midashesh, kitna. Why? Because otherwise, right? What do we say? It's kitna, it's linen. Techelet Amrahu, and therefore Techelet, the blue aspect, has to be made from wool. It's tarich, and I say it's necessary. Salkadat Achamina, as I said, okay, I might have said according to Rabba's view. What was Rabba's view? The Rabba, Rami Kativ, because Rabba raised the question of a contradiction in regards to psukim. Hakanaf, where it says the corner, okay, min kanaf. The fact that it says the corner implies that the item has to be made from the same type of thread as the corner. Okay, uktiv semer upishtin, and elsewhere it's written wool and linen. Ha ketzad, how is that possible? Semer upishtin potrin bein b'minan bein shelo b'minan. Okay, that having the threads, okay, for the corner, regardless of their wool or linen, they will satisfy, okay, that requirement, okay, potrin, all right.
A pair of wool tzitzis will pater a baguette, even if the baguette is not made of wool.
That.
That's
Well,
mina or shelo b'mina.
well, we'll get
So
to that in just a second.
That's the
Okay.
brush of the Gemara saying.
You're jumping ahead just a little. Okay, so the Gemara say, how is it possible? It says, Sema upishtin potrin bein b'minan bein shelo b'minan. Okay, that using wool or linen will satisfy that requirement, whether it's from the same kind of thread or not. Sha'ar minin b'minan potrin. Other kinds will only satisfy if it's made from the same thread. Okay, shelo b'minan, if it's not from the same variety, ein potrin, it does not satisfy that requirement. Ha Tana debe Rabbi Yishmael, but here it's taught according to the Academy of Rabbi Yishmael, laid the Rabbah, that they don't hold like the view of Rabbah. It's tarich, but I would say it's necessary. Why? Salkadat achamina, because it's possible I might say, ki diyuka de Rabbah hakanaf min kanaf, that it is the exact language of Rabbah that he used to say the corner, meaning the kind of corner, the same variety of thread. Vahachi ka'amar rachmana. And this is what the Torah actually means to tell us. Avid leit semer let semer. Okay, when you make it, you use wool, okay, thread for the wool garment when it's wool. Pishtin le pishtin. And you use linen thread for the corner for when the garment is made from linen. V'chi avedat semer let semer tzviyah. Okay, and so the Gemara asks, and is it possible that you will take wool and you will make it, you will dye it blue? Okay, is that the case? Aval semer lepishtin upishtin let semer lo. But taking linen for linen, okay, for that issue of dyeing it blue. Wool? No, you can't dye it blue. Katav Rachmana. Therefore, the Torah says, Semer upishtin, wool and linen, da'afilut semer lipishtin, that even wool for a linen garment, a linen talis, right? Upishtin let semer, and linen for wool. So that's where we're gonna, because the Gemara is then gonna go on hay, okay, to either agree or disagree. Okay, so that will be for tomorrow, for Shabbos. Everybody have a good Shabbos. Okay.
Rabbi Green, he opened before the question of whether a woman could refuse her yom. And he said she could protest.
Right.
They didn't say that she would, that it would not go through.
If she, the impression that the Gemara gives you is that if you don't muzzle, in other words, she is able to protest if there is something that she does not like about that potential yabam, then she can protest, and therefore the result has to be chalitza. Ron, did you want to do Rabbanan Kaddish? Okay, Rabbanan Kaddish. Assuming we still have a minute. Amen.